First things first, thanks for stopping in. Allow me to explain what's up before we begin. This ain't no Fuji, Sony, Nikon, or Canon. This is exclusive to Pentax, the green button. What does it do? How can it be used? Don't worry, this video gon' help you understand the ins and outs before you shout. From tossing all them poorly exposed photos out, setting the exposure, focused for miles, resetting mistakes so you can keep that smile. All the while, override with dials, or customize so you're never in denial. So let's get into the deeper topic of this Pentax exclusive that hits like a fist right in your face like a ton of bricks. The green button makes sure you never miss. This ain't no review, I be doing deep dives of all the features and capabilities inside these solid slabs of DSLR pride. 21 years ago the green button arrived, so let's begin today's lesson. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification. Alright, that's it, time to begin education for the Pentaxian.
Now, I'm utilizing the Pentax K3 right now, and as you can see here in regards to the green button, there is a lot that can be done. We'll start with program, with shutter speed for the front dial, aperture for the rear dial, and P to go back to, or green button to go back to the program. Auto exposure, and you can see here that there is some other customization that you can do for the front dial, rear dial, and the green button, right? Now each one of these is going to be different. So let's go back, let's go into this one. So this one here, you have some ISO capabilities to shift in regards to the front dial or rear dial. Change your program shift, program line for the green button, different combinations regarding the green button and the front and rear E dial. And as I said, each one of these will have different options. Let's go into here. So this one here, again, is different. You have ISO auto as options down here for the green button. And the next one would be for switching to aperture value. And again, you have exposure compensation options for the front or rear dial. You can have the front dial control the aperture, or the rear dial controlling the aperture, or front dial or rear dial for ISO, and you can activate auto ISO as well. So yeah, I know that this video is about the green button, but this all kind of ties into the green button, right? Because depending on the activation of different things, you can have the green button do your program line, or jump to your shutter speed shift, or your aperture shift, or do nothing, right? This last one here with the line, that is to do nothing. Right, so each one of these, if we go into, yeah, see this one doesn't even have a green button specifically because it's not available. And then we also have for manual, same idea. You have a bunch of different parameters. In regards to the green button itself, you can have TV shift, AV shift, or return to the program line. And this is after you've made any changes. With bulb mode, there is no green button option. It's all dash dash. But the green button does offer you a fair amount of customizability in regards to what you can and cannot do. You can change this. This X is flash sync. So with X, you can have the aperture shift or nothing. And then for video, you can have it in program mode, and there's no green button options for this one. You can just have the exposure compensation up and down with either the front or rear dial. And this one here for the program line. For aperture, it's just program line or nothing. And then this is for if you're in TAV, then you can have this go back to program line. Again, this is for video shooting. And the next one down, again, for video shooting in full manual, just goes back to the program line, right? Or green button does nothing. Now, I do have another video where I showed the green button in use with Optical Preview. If you haven't seen that one, link is up here, and I will also have a link to that video in the description. Now, let's mess around with some of these settings here. So I'm going to change my shutter speed. And you know what? Let me just change the aperture here. I'm not crazy about the shutter speed I chose. Okay, you know what? This is not going to work out, so I don't know what to do. So you press the green button and boom. It goes right back to a default setting to get you a properly exposed shot, right? Let me just move the camera a little bit here and try at a different angle. There we go. That's more realistic. So if I change the aperture to say f9 and move the ISO down to say 640, but I want to shoot with a higher shutter speed, but I want to have more of a depth of field for the shot, then I would need to change the parameters of how I've set up the program line, right? As it is right now, this is not going to work. Because say I wanted, say f8, so I go to dial it to f8, and it's 1/4 of a second, but I don't want 1/4 of a second. So the only option really is to raise the ISO, but I don't want to go up to 6400 or 8000, right? So all you can do is just move it directly into TAV, because there's no way that you can have independent control in P mode of the shutter or aperture. It's one or the other. You can't control both. Now, I do want to point one thing out. In regards to this menu, the naming could have been better. It's a little bit misleading. So this here is your program mode, I guess, or program priority. So on the front dial, you can adjust the shutter speed, the rear dial, the aperture. The next one is your sensitivity. So there's nothing with the front E-dial, the way I have it set up. You can change it so the front dial controls the ISO versus the rear dial. TV, which would be just adjusting the shutter speed, nothing else. AV, which would be adjusting the aperture, nothing else. And then TAV, which I find interesting because it doesn't really activate TAV, right? You kind of can in regards to auto ISO, but having full manual control over the shutter speed independent of the aperture, I found doesn't actually happen. And I will give you an example of that. So I have the front dial for shutter speed and the rear dial for the aperture. Green button just goes back to the program line that I have set up, whether it's MTF or whatever. So it's on auto ISO now, so I'm going to adjust the shutter speed, right? The ISO is going up, and now I'm going to adjust the aperture, and you'll see the aperture changes when I'm switching the shutter speed. When I'm going to the aperture, you'll see the shutter speed changes, and the ISO is changing relatively to compensate, right? So it's not really the same as TAV. So with TAV, as you can see here, I am independently adjusting the shutter speed, and now I will independently adjust the aperture. The aperture is not changing the shutter speed, and the shutter speed is not changing the aperture. It's affecting the ISO level, right? So the TAV that they actually have for this e-dial programming is not actual TAV mode. So that's something that you want to watch out for. In the K3 Mark III, which I will show, they did change that. So it really is TAV. There are additional options in the K3 Mark III, which we will get to. And right now I'm going to show you the program lines. So the program line options here are just full auto, normal program, prioritizing movement or action, deep depth of field so that more of the foreground or background is in focus relative to your subject, and then shallow depth of field so your subject is in focus but the background may be more blurred as it shows here in this icon. And then you have your mean time, I can't remember what the MTF stands for. Anyway, it's basically the mean time function. It's the best aperture for the sharpest image based on the lens you have attached to the camera. Now, one caveat with that is MTF works best if you're utilizing first-party Pentax lenses, right? So, Sigma lenses, Tamron lenses, it may not work as well, but the Pentax lenses are programmed to provide that information to the camera. So if you're going to use MTF, make sure you are using an actual official Pentax lens. And now let's move over to the K3 Mark III. Okay, so now let's take a look at the Pentax K3 Mark III. Now, when we go into the e-dial programming, which is for setting up parameters in regards to the green button and things like that, you'll notice the menu obviously is completely different. You have a couple of additional items. Rotation direction is actually done here in the menu instead of in the sub-menu for adjusting the e-dial programming. And hyper program sensitivity options have their own menu as well. And this explains what each one of them does. So this is the standard way. When shutter or aperture values are changed in program or sensitivity, auto exposure is applied with priority on the last set exposure parameter. Wonderful Pentax convoluted messaging. Then the advanced one is changed parameter values are manually set in program sensitivity value when shutter priority, aperture, or sensitivity values are all changed, then the mode switches to M, right? So there are some advanced capabilities that they did put in the K3 Mark III. And as I mentioned before, this menu is different, so this gives a complete layout of everything. So there's no sub-menus to really go into. So within the sub-menus, we've got how you want all the different functions to work. So the basic operation, and these are all the settings for adjusting the green button or the program line and the shifts. And there's a lot more detail in here than there was in the K3 Mark I. Now, I'm not going to get into each and everything, or this video would be forever. But in regards to the green button, so on that green button line, in program mode would reset the hyper program. Sensitivity mode, the green button is off. In shutter priority, it's on for auto ISO. Aperture value, it will change to auto ISO with the green button. And for TAV, it'll reset the hyper program line. Manual just defaults back to the pre-programmed program line. In bulb mode, now this is different. In bulb mode, the K1 has this as well in the K1 Mark II. So in bulb mode, you can actually set a timer for the camera to capture given whatever time you punch in. So that is a different function for the green button. And then in flash priority or flash sync, green button, I have it as off, and you can have it for AV shift or unset. So again, there are a lot of different parameters that you can get into in regards to the green button on the K3 Mark III. Now, I'm not sure if I messed anything up here, but let's see. Hopefully it works. And it goes into TAV. So there we go. So all that works, right? Let's go to ISO. It's already in auto ISO. So that goes back down to the pre-programmed exposure. And again, I can go into this menu here and change this so it goes into manual instead of TAV. Now, there's more parameters here for movie mode. You can have it for your program, shutter, priority, aperture value, TAV, manual. If I'm doing video, I usually do it in manual. So let's see what options are here for the green button. I can have it go to a program line or sensitivity shift or EV compensation, or turn the green button off entirely. I know I'm kind of going through this a little quick, just because this video is long enough as it is. And then for here, I can change between standard hyper mode and the advanced hyper mode. All right. Now the smart function, don't believe there's anything green button related in here. Nope. Now in the bulb mode, so let's just quickly switch over to bulb, just so I can show the timer. So in bulb mode, you want to set a timer. You just press the green button, and now you can set the time, and the camera will capture within that time frame, and it will stop capturing once that time frame is done. Right? And then if you want to go back to standard bulb mode, just press the green button again, and there you go. That's it. So the Pentax Green Button, your best friend when it comes to nailing your exposure and changing things on the fly. And if you are a novice to photography and you're getting lost, it is a very quick safety measure to just dial everything back to a pre-programmed setting to make sure that your exposure is correct. The only thing is, you do need to go into the eDial programming in order to go through item by item to fully understand what the different parameters are for the different settings in regards to what the green button will be changing with each section of the mode dial and video, stills, all that stuff. And as you saw, there are differences between the older generation of Pentax cameras and the new platform of Pentax cameras. So going forward, if Pentax ever releases another new digital camera, we could probably look forward to some additional functions within the green button. That timer thing for bulb mode is pretty sick. Yeah, I like that. Anyway, that's it for this video. If you like the video, leave a like. If you have not already, please do subscribe. Always helps out. Yeah, you have any questions or comments, leave them down below, and I will see you on my next video. And I hope that this video was helpful in case the green button is something you haven't dove into. So you should start diving, like right now. Anyways, I'm out.